Not knowing your father sucks. Learning how to sell drugs from your 15-year-old mother sucks. And of course, being shot 9 times probably sucks too. Who could know more about the rules of success than the man who made it from those circumstances to the top of the music, film, and TV industry, Curtis Jackson? Better known as 50 Cent, he truly made it from less than rags to more than riches and claims every success comes down to 2 characteristics: finding fearlessness and having the heart of a hustler. Both are instilled in each of his personas. 50 Cent, whose hunger and ambition brought him to the top, and Curtis Jackson, whose experience and wisdom allowed him to stay there. Let's take a look at the lessons from the unfair and ruthless street business you can adapt to survive and thrive in the no less unfair and ruthless corporate world. Please subscribe in order to stay tuned. Finding fearlessness. Are you comfortable living in constant fear for your entire life? Not a single person would answer this question in the affirmative, but most of them should. Everyone who is afraid of planes and does not fly, everyone who is afraid of heights and does not climb, and everyone who is afraid of freaking elevators and takes the stairs. Every single one of them voluntarily decided to live their lives in fear. So, what is the right way to deal with fears then? The way that 50 has chosen? Facing them. Even as a child, he actively approached his fears instead of letting them intimidate him. Whether he volunteered to fight older kids in the boxing gym, or went jogging with a gun up his sleeve because people around his grandmother's house were waiting to finish the job they started weeks earlier with 9 shots at the rapper. Just as a state of fearlessness can be achieved by riding an elevator for some and actually putting your life in danger for others, you too have fears you need to overcome by facing them at whatever end of that spectrum. Heart of a hustler. Things may come to those who wait, but only the things left by those who hustle. When talking about hustling, 50 is not talking about selling drugs. Not always. Instead, he's talking about hard work, which to this day is the one trait that all successful people have in common, whether you like it or not. Smart work only leads to success when combined with hard work, and vice versa. Artists might out-rap, outperform, or even outsmart 50 Cent, but none of them will ever outwork Curtis Jackson. If your lack of talent has served as an excuse so far, measure yourself against something there are no excuses for: your work performance. Take this opportunity to improve it by replacing your beer bench with a weight bench, your cell phone with a book, and your morning coffee with a protein shake. Constructing your crew. Whenever a quote is used so often that no one even knows who came up with it, that's a good sign there might be some truth in it. You are the average of the people you surround yourself with is one of them. Just in case you've not made it as an international superstar yet, you might consider making a couple good friends before you do so. Every step towards success makes it harder to distinguish your loyal followers from the growing group of those craving a slice of that pie for themselves. 50 Cent emphasizes to bring the hood with you and values good character traits over experience and competence every time. The crew, as 50 defines it, is made up of more than just colleagues and business partners. It's equally made up of friends and family, with the latter posing the biggest trust issues for him. He's learned the hard way to always be aware of each crew member's motives, in the office, at the dinner table, and even down the aisle. Evolve or die. No matter how sure you are about your value today, it doesn't have to be the same a decade from now. Your family may have built the best horse-drawn carriages generation after generation, but today you'd be better off developing even the worst electric car the world has seen. That's what the market demands, and the good old market is always right, no matter how much we value our own opinion. Just as rappers adapt to the latest style of music, it's in every company's best interest to adapt to the latest technologies. Blockbuster could have been today's Netflix, and BlackBerry could have been today's Apple. Speaking of Apple, while most musicians suffered from declining record sales after the turn of the millennium, Dr. Dre and his partner Jimmy Iovine kept an open mind and observed people listening to their music over smartphones rather than those profitable CDs everyone got so used to. And just like that, Beats by Dr. Dre was born, a headphone brand that Apple later paid a whopping $3 billion for. Evolve or die. Power of perception. A small fire can either burn you or help you cook something delicious to eat. The fire is the same. What differs is your perception. Be careful not to be perceived as the uncontrollable fire everyone's afraid of, but rather as the sort of fire that others need to survive. People will always treat you like you treat yourself. Even a clean car and some iron clothes can open doors you can't even imagine, all without spending a dime. If you can't afford a new pair of shoes for your next meeting, you can at least afford the time to clean your old ones. Most don't like to admit it, some may not even be aware of it, but there's not a single person who isn't influenced by your appearance in one way or another, for better or worse. If we can't be friends, people who love you are great. People who hate you, not so much. But even worse are those who don't even care about you. Enemies can at least get you some publicity by talking about you or motivate you by pursuing a similar goal. 50 Cent has always seized the opportunities that come with a strong competition. Back in 2007, he was ready to launch his third album and entered a voluntary competition with an equally famous rapper who released his album in the same week, Kanye West. Most fans were disappointed when 50 ended up selling fewer records within that decisive first week, but looking at the massive media attention and motivation that resulted from this competition, how many of them wondered what the figures would have looked like without that contest? As so often in competition, one side went home a winner, and the other side, an even bigger winner. Learning from your mistakes. Ready for another unfair comparison? Who do you think has made more serious mistakes in life, you or Bill Gates? Even if you goofed up everything you tried so far, you'd still only occupy the second place in this race. Unfortunately, that has less to do with your infallibility than the number and weight of your decisions. 50 Cent cites Soichiro Honda rather than Bill Gates as an example, but the message remains the same. Those who make more mistakes have more potential to learn from them. Potential that is all too often smothered in negative emotions. Here's the problem. Learning is only the second step, a step that requires admitting your mistake and being aware of it in the first place. Blaming external circumstances for your failure is the best possible path toward the next defeat. The entitlement trap. If anyone has no idea what it feels like to grow up in a secure environment, it's 50 Cent. If anyone has experience with the exact opposite, it's his son, Marquise. We could ask ourselves why one risked his life for a pair of sneakers while the other is still dissatisfied with the 100th pair, but the reason doesn't really matter. The important point to understand is that both mentalities exist and that you can choose between them, either having demands on the world or having demands on yourself and fighting for your goals. The truth is that the universe owes you as much as you owe the universe, nothing. There's a reason that lottery winners are far less happy than those who've walked the walk themselves. True fulfillment won't stay with you until you have earned it for yourself. Maybe it's time to be grateful for the privilege of not being too privileged and to start hustling. Thank you for watching. The text for this summary was contributed to us by Damon's Book Insights. Please check out their website at damond.io for more content like this.